From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
Well, we told you episode 200 of Dale Carter's America would be different, and it is different. We're in a new location.
We are. I think the weirdest thing about this is that we can actually make eye contact now, which is
may or may not be good. We'll see.
Yeah.
We had so many episodes where I was looking at the back of your head, and seeing you in the monitor. So I'm going to try not to look at the monitor, which is over there, and just look at you and make eye contact. We do have a lot to get to today. We greet you from the new podcast studio in Raytown, Missouri. And know that we are brought to you in part by Bob Watson, Blue Springs State Farm agent for 50 years. Bob's ready to give you a rate quote. He's my State Farm guy, and I'd love to share him with you. 816-229-7878. Auto, home, life, commercial insurance. He's licensed in both Missouri and Kansas. Bundle your home and car insurance and save. I think they call it the Bundle Rooski. Get the Bundle Rooski and save with my pal, Bob Watson. And
tremendous people.
Yeah. And I'll tell you who his good friend has become my good friend over the years, and that's Dale Reynolds, because insurance and car wrecks kind of go hand in glove, right? So if you get in an accident, Dale's Body Shop is where you want that car taken. The original Dale's Collision Repair Shop in Blue Springs, in business since 1987, taking care of customers, taking care of you. He'll get it back to showroom new.
When choosing a body,
Dale Reynolds at Dale's Body Shop. Are we still working out some bugs here?
no. That was just a YouTube thing.
All right. So we thank Bob and we thank Dale for being with us here on this podcast. We ask you to help us spread the word. How can they do that, Kurt?
Well, same as before, except hopefully more now, because we're going to have a little bit more of a professional setup. This is still a work in progress too. I don't need to get into everything, but when I tested the lighting here, it was at night, so it looks different. Like I need to get some blackout shades for these windows.
Okay, fine.
I have some sound paneling I'm going to put up. I'm going to redo the backgrounds for the screen that you're seeing now. So it's still going to be upgraded a little bit, but yeah, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and Rumble. And for the video podcast, and then the audio only version you can find on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram and join in the conversation. We appreciate every single one of you.
All right. Well, the Super Bowl is coming up a week from tomorrow as we record this on a Saturday. We record on Saturday, February the 1st, just for context here. So I'm decked out. I know you're from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And this is a rematch of Super Bowl 57, right?
Yeah, two Super Bowls ago.
So, while the Chiefs are in it so often, I mean, who can keep track, right? So, this is my stuff from Super Bowl 57. This is the Super Bowl 57 jersey, got the logo on there. This is my ring from Super Bowl 57, the hat from Super Bowl 57, and I wore my lucky red shoes. Can we get those up? Oh, look at that.
Yeah, we got them.
How about that?
See, up close and personal.
These are the red shoes that I wore to every home game this year as PA announcer for the Chiefs. And
hopefully you washed them.
We won every one of them.
Yeah.
You don't wash shoes.
Yeah, I know.
How do you wash shoes?
I don't know. That was a dumb thing to say.
Yeah.
I take it back.
And I've only worn them for that and this podcast. So it's a lucky omen for the podcast moving forward.
Great.
Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
And you're decked out in Dirks.
Yeah. I didn't get the memo about, I don't really have Chiefs gear, honestly. I have a hat, I think.
Well, I wore it because you're an Eagles guy. So I figured, I wanted to stick it in your face.
I've said this before. I'll say it again. I'm a fair weather fan. So I'm a fair weather Eagles fan. I'm a fair weather Chiefs fan. They're both in the Super Bowl. So I'll root for either one. But I will say you've probably seen all the videos out of Philadelphia of people after they won the NFC Championship game, they're going crazy, shooting guns in the air and climbing up telephone poles and
set stuff on fire. I mean, the Philly fans have kind of a reputation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen it firsthand. So not great on that account, but I think it'll be a good game. I said to you, it comes down to Saquon.
Yeah, got to stop him.
Saquon against the Kansas City linebackers, Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquill.
Yep.
Because he's going to, the D line, they can stop him, but he's going to get through the D line at least a few times. So
I think you're right.
If he can break through that second level and get big plays, then the Eagles win for sure.
Got to stop the tush push too.
The tush push, yeah.
That's something the Eagles are very famous for.
Absolutely.
What do you? I don't know if you heard this or not, but what do you think about the fact that they're not going to have a rally at Union Station? It's only going to be a parade. They're going to start at Crown Center. It's going to end at City Market. There will be no rally. There will be a private gathering for VIPs, political types, celebrities. I'm not going, apparently. So what do you think about all that? Probably due to the violence and or the drunken celebrations that, Clark Hunt has seen his players do over the years.
Yeah, like when they get on the mic and, they're like acting a fool. Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably mostly because of the shooting the last time. But I think it's funny how, like, all this is being planned before the game has even happened.
Just in case, right? Well, I mean, it's already in the bag. We've had the referees with us all season long.
Yeah, they've already been paid off.
Yeah, and I told people, if you truly believe that, you should take out a home equity line on your house, liquidate your 401k and IRA, and go bet it in Vegas. Yeah. If the fix is already in, you'll make a lot of money.
Yeah, bet $1 million on the Chiefs.
Yeah. So anyway, enough talk there. And again, the Super Bowl is not until a week from Sunday as we do this. So I really should have thought about that. I would have saved this get up for next week.
Yeah.
So next week I'll have to take it up another level. I don't know what that'll be. Maybe it'll be my Super Bowl 58 stuff, because I got that too.
Are you going to get Super Bowl 59?
You bet.
Jerseys? Yeah.
Are you kidding me? The museum in my house of Chiefs is expanding. I'll have to show it to you sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's right there with my G.I. Joe action figure collection.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Don't judge.
I'm not.
All right. And don't judge me for this, because I did this, right? 45 is the new 50. And I'm 61 now, and I have had 2 colonoscopies. And I will tell you that the first one was dreadful in terms of the prep. When I went with Mark Taramina and his staff at Midwest GI Health and Wellness, an entirely different experience. Because the prep holds a lot of people back. It might hold you back as you get close to 45, Kurt, that you don't want to go through all that. But with Mark Taramina and his staff and the prep that they have set up, it is a piece of cake, and it is something you need to do, because colon cancer will kill you. Catch it early when it's treatable. That's the message from Dr. Mark Taramina at Midwest GI Health and Wellness. They are on the web at midwestgihealth.com. You can ring them up there at 816-836-2200. And again, midwestgihealth.com. Schedule that appointment. Get it on your calendar. You don't even need a referral from your doctor. Just call Dr. Taramina, tell them what you want to get done there, and they'll send it to your regular doctor, and your regular doctor will definitely approve of what you're doing. Insurance will pay for it too. And if you're closing in on 65, there's another factor for insurance that we need to talk about, and that is Medicare. MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. Kirk Doris and Lori Hocker, they do fantastic work. If you can't come to them for the appointment, they'll come to you. They're not far from these studios in Raytown. They're at 3600 South Nolan Road, Suite F. In fact, when I was coming to the new studios, Kurt, I was going down 40 Highway, and I went past Hocker Drive. And I'm like, man, I knew Lori Hocker was famous.
Big name.
She's got her own road. I don't know if that's her or her family, but Kirk Doris and Lori Hocker are fantastic people. They'll help you navigate the maze that is Medicare. 816-701-6661 on the web at MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. Medicare's a maze. Get with these folks and let them help you navigate that maze. Well, Donald Trump didn't have to wait long for his first disaster. Happens to every president. Every president, Kurt, comes in with their plan, right? The first 100 days, these are all the things I'm going to do. And we'll get to some of the flurry of activity that Donald Trump has been up to. But then there are the things that happen that you don't see coming, right? George W. Bush didn't see 9/11 coming. And Trump's first national disaster is the midair collision over Washington, D.C. Horrific. Horrific as that plane. And you've been to Reagan National, yes?
I have, yeah. I actually flew into there many times.
Yeah. And I've flown in there many times as well. Yeah. On that same approach, across the Potomac, these folks were 400 feet from touchdown. And the plane was also coming from the Midwest. It was coming from Wichita. They were world-class ice skaters who were on this plane, a team of ice skaters, and some other people as well. And, of course, the military folks on the helicopter. It just, in so many ways, it just looks like something that should never have happened, could have been completely avoidable. And it's the first test for Donald Trump in front of the microphones. And did you hear his press conference live?
I didn't know. I don't really watch those typically. But this is unfortunately, it's very sad. Some of the victims were kids. Very young kids. There was a whole ice skating troupe. There was another video people were posting of like a black activist type journalist type lady that has done interviews that was killed.
Right.
It's just really sad.
Very sad.
No, I don't watch the live.
I was driving home.
I saw the clips though.
Yeah. I was driving home and I had it on the radio because I was listening to it. Those kinds of things, you want to see how a president's going to handle that because they are at that point the consoler in chief. And I always hearken back to, because the anniversary just happened in January of the Challenger explosion and Ronald Reagan, consoler in chief. I don't think anybody was better at taking something like that and putting salve on the wound of America, I guess is the best way to put that. And I thought Donald Trump handled it okay, at least initially, right? You just like we got used to the garbled syntax and the brain freezes and other things of Joe Biden over 4 years. We had 4 years experience with Donald Trump, and we kind of know how he's going to handle things like this. So I thought initially he did okay, but then it went off the rails. And quite frankly, I'm driving home and I'm starting to cringe because he's talking about stuff that there's a time and a place for things. I want to take you through this because the press conference, I kind of evolved as I went through the press conference. At first, it was like, okay, he's doing all right. And then it's like, oh, man, I wish he hadn't said that. I wish he hadn't said that. And then as I'm driving home and I'm getting closer to home, I'm starting to think about some of the things that he is saying. And if, in fact, it is true that Biden had these DEI standards to a point where we couldn't hire enough air traffic controllers because we didn't want a bunch of white people in there, I mean, that's wrong.
Yeah.
And the Democrats, and I'm going to say this a lot probably, moving forward, they're going to be like a rock in our shoe, right? Anything that comes up, and I said this before, if there's one blade of grass that is askance or askew on the White House lawn, they're going to bitch about it. So anything that goes wrong or anything that goes slightly off the rails, they're going to bitch about it. And so they're out there saying already, and we've had another crash in Philadelphia involving an air ambulance that was on its way to Mexico. They're going to say that's Trump's fault, that he froze this, he fired these people, he did this, he did that, and voila, all of a sudden we have this. But reality is, and maybe you've been there, there have been a shortage of air traffic controllers for a while.
Yeah.
And it's caused major delays across this country.
Yeah, and the DEI thing is true. I mean, we can talk about the timing of, him talking about it or whatever. I can play some of the clips, but it is true that the standards have been lowered and there has been an increase in close calls and things like that. It's kind of, you hate to say it, but it's like, it's only a matter of time before something bad happens. You know what I mean? And so I get it, people criticizing his tone, or whatever, and saying, well, it's too soon, you have to let the victims rest and, help the families and things like that. I get that, but like what he's saying is not wrong.
No, it's
just
not
that
wrong.
You don't like the timing. You think it's too soon or something like that. And to your point, the media and the Democrats, they're going to jump on every opportunity that they can get. They did the same thing with him the first time around. You remember all of the things, he said Nazis are very fine people. He said Mexicans are rapists. He said all this stuff that was just blatantly false. And they jump on every single opportunity. But, he was also blaming, this is kind of where he was talking about Biden and Obama and the DEI stuff. We don't have to watch the whole thing, but he kind of gets into it here.
Christopher, thank you very much. Appreciate it. We must have only the highest standards for those who work in our aviation system. I changed the Obama standards from very mediocre at best to extraordinary. You remember that. Only the highest aptitude, they have to be the highest intellect and psychologically superior people were allowed to qualify for air traffic controllers. That was not so prior to getting there. When I arrived in 2016. I made that change very early on because I always felt this was a job that, and other jobs too, but this was a job that had to be superior intelligence, and we didn't really have that. And
you want to know something else about this too that I noticed right away? Just the fact that he's here.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he went right to the press room.
Yeah. It's not Kareem Jean-Pierre, looking through a notebook or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like he immediately got in front of the media and the American people. So regardless of whether you like what he said or not, I mean, at least there's that, But
well, and to the point about the Democrats and everything they're going to say, it's racist, misogynist, sexist, homophobic, blah, 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 blah. He makes a great point in that we need to have a merit-based government, especially in jobs like air traffic control. Has to be merit-based. DEI, and I don't know for a fact that all these things he cited in the Biden administration and all that they were looking for dwarfs and people with amputations. And of course, they had to have every race represented, every sexual persuasion represented. If I'm on an airplane, and I'm going to be on one in a couple of weeks, I want to know that somebody knows what the hell they're doing. I don't care what color they are. I don't care how many appendages they have or don't have. I don't care if they're sleeping with the same sex. I don't care. I just want them communicating with a pilot who I also want to be merit-based, right? I want merit-based people protecting me because I have no control when I'm on a plane. These 60 people had no control on the plane. They're just sitting there ready to land, and boom, they're dead.
Within like 5 seconds.
They're dead.
Yeah.
Right? So, I also heard that they only had one controller handling the job of 2 people.
Yeah.
We've got to have enough. Our economy is expanding. Our travel is expanding. More and more people are getting on airplanes every day.
Yeah.
And we've got to protect them.
Well, the thing about the DEI thing too, that people talk about, but not enough people talk about, it kind of creates like a racial element to it where it doesn't have to be. Because here's the thing, like for a pilot, for example, if you know that it's a policy of the FAA or of the airline to go out of their way to hire underqualified pilots because they're black or because they're, not white, basically, then if you're flying and you see a pilot that's not white, you're within reason to kind of assume that that is a worse pilot, right? Because it's not necessarily the case that they were hired because of DEI, but it's much more likely, you know what I mean? So now you're like looking like, is my pilot white or not? Because like, if not, like, is this a DEI hire pilot? You know what I'm saying? Like It creates this environment where now you're like, and maybe it's intentional, maybe they want that, but it's creating this environment where it kind of creates distrust because it's not just the cashier at McDonald's. It's not just, the guy at the gas station. It's like literally life and death. You know what I mean? So,
well, McDonald's and Walmart and companies like that scrapped their DEI programs as soon as Donald Trump came in. Right. You know who didn't was Costco. Did you see that? Costco kind of doubled down on DEI and all that. Now, I don't care if Costco wants to have a DEI program and they want certain quotas of people stocking shelves at the Costco. I don't care. Right. But when it comes to saving me, when it comes to a doctor, if I've got to have some sort of heart surgery, do I want the DEI pick or do I want the best doctor possible?
Yeah. And Trump pointed to this in his press conference too. I just want to play this real quick because you kind of alluded to it. Some of the hiring incentives and practices that the previous administration had in place for air traffic
I do want to point out that various articles that appeared prior to my entering office, and here's one. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities.
I mean,
why is that even a category? It's like, oh, we're going to hire some air traffic controllers. Let's make sure we've got a quota of people who are unstable.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah, that's a big problem. But yeah, I mean, I could play the rest, but he's just saying that more.
That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they want them, they can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so. This was in January 14th, so that was a week before I entered office. They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. I do want to
Yeah. It just makes absolutely no sense. Yeah. Now, you could argue the timing. You could argue the timing that instead of coming out and saying, making it all about the people and the families and all that and how crushed we are about all of that, I think that's kind of what most presidents would do. But if you think about it, this election wasn't about what most presidents do.
Right.
This election was about breaking things.
Yeah.
Right. We're sick of the status quo. It's time to go in there and break things and put them back together again. And I'm always going to come back to the center for me is that we're $36 trillion in debt and we spend $7 trillion and we only make $5 trillion. In any budget scenario, if you only make 5 and you spend 7 and the debt is already at 36 and growing,
Yeah.
it makes no sense. He's got to go in there and he's got to get rid of a lot of people, and they're not going to like it. They're going to go kicking and screaming, and the Democrats are going to be out there every day on television saying he's starving children and killing old people.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you talk about how most presidents would handle this. He's not most presidents.
He's not.
You get the good, the bad, and the ugly all wrapped up in one. You're not going to be able to pick and choose, what.
Well, I told you the evolution I went through on the press conference. Okay, he's handling that okay. Eek, I wish he hadn't said that. I wish he hadn't said that. And then, damn, he's right.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, the thing for me, not to get too deep with it or whatever, but we were actually having a group class with our priest when the crash happened, and the thing that he was talking about was literally like opening your heart to God and like being prepared for death at any time, because it can happen at any time.
These people had no clue,
and it just really hammered that home for me of just being right with God, and just you never know. You just never know, man. So if you're out there listening, just get right with Christ and just, get your heart in the right place, because it can happen to you. It can happen to your family, your friends, and it's just, it's really sad.
Well, I am confident in the NTSB. I am, because I watched the show Air Disasters. Do you ever watch that show?
Yeah.
I watch it a lot, and then I'm terrified of flying.
Yeah.
Do those two things go together?
The one I always watched was Modern Marvels.
Oh, yeah.
Engineering Disasters, Modern Marvels. I love that show. We have a Roku TV downstairs, and there's a Modern Marvels channel. They just play Modern Marvels all day. My wife hates it, but
well, Air Disasters, shows you that the NTSB, and Trump even complained about that sometimes it takes years, but sometimes it does. Mm-hmm. And they do get to the bottom of it. And it's why I think this is the first U.S. air disaster like this since 2009. Does that sound right?
Something like that. It's the worst since the 2000s. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm confident. I'm fairly confident that what you were talking about with your pilot when you look in the cockpit or whatever. What I'm looking for first of all, these are my own superstitions.
Yeah.
When I get on a plane, I tap with my right hand on the outside of the plane 3 times. Boom, 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 and then I go in, right, and I look to my left into the cockpit, and what I'm looking for there, and it's not a racial thing. I'm looking for somebody about 50 years old with hair high and tight, because that tells me they were a military pilot.
Male?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And there are times.
Let's be honest here.
There are times, call me whatever. There are times when I'm sitting in the seat and they make the announcement and the voice of the captain comes on and it's a female. I'm like, mm-hmm.
Have you seen that? I think it was a Family Guy bit. I wonder if I can find it, but there's it's like schizophrenic pilot or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it is, but they're making fun of like the pilot voice. They come on, they're like, "This is your captain speaking. Please sit down and fasten your seat." It's like all calm and like mature.
Yeah.
And then they compare that to like if somebody was to come on and be like, "This is your captain speaking," and everyone just gets up and starts running around. Like,
I think I was
that's
on.
part of it. The voice. It's the voice.
Yeah.
It's the gray hairs on the elbow.
Yeah.
You look in, you see the gray hairs on the elbow. You're like, all right.
Now we're good. We're good to go. The last flight I was on was a Delta flight, and I'm pretty sure it was a DEI flight because I'd had an all-female flight crew.
Oh boy.
And all of the flight attendants were gay men.
Oh boy.
I mean, how do you know this? I think you know.
Yeah.
Right? The mannerisms were all there. I mean, one of them had painted fingernails and all that. So I was on a DEI flight, and it managed to take off and land. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they lost my luggage, but that's another story for another day.
Was it a DEI baggage crew?
I'm sure it was. But the bottom line is this, what President Trump is trying to usher in, and you can call it sexist, bigoted, misogynist, homophobic, whatever word you want to use to call it, he's bringing in a merit-based government. What you do matters. And it fulfills the dream of Martin Luther King Jr., does it not? He wanted a society, a colorblind society, where you're judged by the content of your character, not the color of your skin. And I think if Martin Luther King Jr. were alive today, he would expand that universe out to say, regardless of, who you love, regardless of any physical limitations you might have, it's about what you do. I mean, the NFL, we were talking about at the top of the podcast, the Chiefs are going to play for the 3rd Super Bowl in a row. You talk about a merit-based system, that's the National Football League. They don't care what you look like. It's right. Can you block the blind side? Can you stop Saquon Barkley? That's all that matters.
Yep.
And it's wins and losses. And if you don't win as a coach, you're going to get fired. It doesn't matter whether you're black or white. In the NFL, that's about all you have to choose from, right? Black or white.
There's like one Asian kicker, right?
Yeah.
Young Ho Koo, something like that.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I just meant in terms of coaches who are going to get fired. At this point, we don't have any Asians. We don't have any women, although I think that's where the league is headed. They'd love to have a female head coach. But the bottom line is still wins. And if you don't win, it's a merit-based system. You are going to get fired. Let's move along here. We've got Michael Schroer, who is doing such a bang-up job. He's one of my friends on Facebook, in addition to a sponsor of this podcast, and he has been selling properties left and right. He's doing a fantastic job. If you're ready to sell your home, or buy a home, I guess those two things go kind of hand in glove as well. Maybe it's your first home. This is the studio. We can tell folks this is in your home.
Correct.
And this is your first home.
Yeah.
Gosh, I have known you long enough now that I've seen you fall in love with a lady, get married. I mean, you're doing it all in the right order. Have a child, yeah. Have a second child on the way, and decide, you know what, we need a house. And you've got this house, and it's huge, right?
Yeah, it's nice.
And it's got things you can do to it to make it better and grow it and all that. I mean, you're doing all these things in the right way. So at some point, when you have 15 kids and they go off to college, right, you're going to want something smaller. So you'll be a candidate for that.
Yeah, I did get a large house gas bill last month.
So. Oh, welcome to home ownership.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing in the house universe, Michael Schroer is your guy. He's a broker at RE/MAX Elite in Lee's Summit, and you can reach him at 816-373-8400. His cell phone is always on, 816-520-9342. If you're looking to sell your house, buy something new, maybe you got a piece of land you want to build on, Michael's an expert at that too. So reach out to him. Michael Schroer, real estate professional with RE/MAX Elite in Lee's Summit. And then when you do that, you're going to need to get a loan, right? I'm assuming you didn't pay cash for this. You probably had to get a loan, right?
Yes.
The red carpet lender is my good friend, Chad Taylor. I've known him for a long time. And when I was coming out of my divorce in 2015, I kept the house, right? I got the house. I got the house and my freedom. The only two things I wanted out of my divorce, and I got them both. And I needed to refi my house. And I turned to my friend Chad. And Chad got me a 15-year mortgage that puts my house on a glide path to being paid off very shortly. He can solve all the problems you have in the mortgage area. And if you're a veteran, you're going to love Chad Taylor at theredcarpetlender.com because he'll waive lender fees for veterans. That's about a $2,800 savings. You don't need perfect credit. He can go as low as a 580 credit score. You don't need 20% down. Most loan programs are between 0 and 5% down. Chad is licensed in Missouri and Kansas. He is my guy. He'll come to you again, or you can go to him. Just reach out to him. Chad Taylor at theredcarpetlender.com. Look at that guy. He's a good-looking guy.
He's got nice hair.
He might even put on his Elvis jumpsuit for you. He's big in karaoke. Are you a karaoke guy?
Only when I'm drunk, which is not as often as it used to be.
and if you have been, Chad has probably seen you because that's one of his side hustles. He's a karaoke guy, but we're glad to have him here on the podcast. He's been an expert on the podcast before in terms of mortgage. We'll get him on again. But if you're looking to refinance or you're buying and you need that loan, he's your guy. Chad Taylor at theredcarpetlender.com. So there you go. So the Trump train is rolling. Obviously, he dealt with his first issue, and that was the plane crash. That's something he did not see coming. But the things that he did see coming that he promised, promises made, promises kept. And the first, I'm not a big fan of executive orders. I don't like them on either side because the stickier way to get things done is with legislation that goes through both houses of Congress and is signed by the president. Those are the things that it's really hard to overturn. Executive orders, as we've seen, when the White House changes parties, and it happens all the time, right? So Biden comes in, what does he do? He shreds every executive order that Trump put out. What does Trump do? He shreds every executive order that Biden put out. So that's where we are. The Laken-Riley Act has been signed into law, and I think that's a very good thing.
Yep, absolutely.
Trump is also ordering 30,000 beds for Gitmo to be used for deported illegals. And boy, the left is screaming about that. Yet it's not the first time that Gitmo has been used for this. It's a way station for sending these people back to wherever it is they need to go. They don't need to be in the United States. And that ties into the Laken-Riley Act because had our border been more secure, had Biden taken that more seriously, Laken-Riley would still be alive today.
100%. Here's the announcement video from that.
Today, I'm also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it. We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people. Some of them are so bad we don't even trust the countries to hold them, because we don't want them coming back, so we're going to send them out to Guantanamo.
Yeah, and they will be treated better there than homeless veterans are treated in New York. Let that sink in for a minute before you feel sorry for these criminals that came to the United States and need to be deported. And again, am I getting to this later? I think I might be. Hang on a second. I don't want to get too far. Yeah, we'll get to that a little bit later on. Other things that Trump is doing that he promised. The buyout. Again, he's coming in as CEO of an organization that collects $5 trillion in tax revenue. And I'll point out again, that was a record high, $5 trillion. How much can you squeeze the lemon or the orange to get more juice out of it? $5 trillion coming in, $7 trillion going out. And when they come up with that $2 trillion gap, that goes right to the debt, which is why the debt is screaming out of control. So he's got to do something, right? He's got to do something.
Yeah, they're already supposedly making some cuts, which we're going to talk about some of them here in a second.
Yeah.
Is it going to be enough? Who knows? But it's at least something.
If you were a major corporation and you needed to downsize, you might offer your employees a buyout.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he has done here. And we're talking about a very generous buyout. And he's thinking 5 to 10% of the federal workforce will take it. It's 8 months severance with benefits, right? And then you go find something else. The economy is going to be growing. We don't need all these federal workers. And by the way, nobody took me up on my challenge from the last podcast to name a federal program that went into place that they said, you know what? This isn't working. Let's shut that thing down.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Once it's in, it's in.
Yeah.
And the federal government is the only entity where if you say, well, we don't think we can go up 6% this year, we're going to cut it to 3%, and Democrats will scream that that's a draconian cut.
Yeah. Yep. All the budgets are not on a flat line. They're on an increase, So we've talked about that before, especially towards the beginning of the podcast. But, when they say you're cutting, they just mean instead of going up 5% year over year, you're going up 3% year over year. So
there was a short-lived freeze in funding. And, they excluded Social Security, Medicare, and payments to individual people. Yet the Democrats screamed bloody murder on that, and a judge has already stepped in and said that Trump couldn't do that. So instead of trying to fight it in court, they said, okay, we'll just pull that off the table and we'll go in a different direction. And then the things you can't make up. $50 million in condoms for Hamas?
Yeah.
What is the deal with that?
Yeah, I watched a Jesse Waters clip on this, and I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's like 5 minutes long. I've been seeing some conflicting things on this. So what they're saying on Jesse Waters and what the administration is saying, that they're sending condoms to Hamas, and then they're using them for bombs or something like that.
I heard that.
And then there's other conflicting reports that are saying, no, it's sending condoms to Gaza province in Mozambique for AIDS, which is a totally different thing. So I don't really know, but either way, I mean, we shouldn't be doing
Why
it.
is that our responsibility?
Yeah, I don't know. It's all got to go.
We take on way too much responsibility, and we're broke.
Yeah.
Everybody says we're the richest country in the world. I mean, look at the balance sheet. We are broke.
Yeah, it's all got to go.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, are we done on that? All that stuff then. So the Trump train is rolling, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we have the deportations, we have the cuts, we have the people that he's bringing in are mostly fantastic. RFK, Kash Patel, Tulsi, all these people. So yeah, I mean, it's been, I think, better than what most people have expected thus far. We'll see if it continues.
RFK, I mean, is that in this? No, that's in the next segment. Well, that'll be under the segment of Democrats lose their mind. I did not put Kash Patel or Tulsi Gabbard into all of this, but I think Kash is holding his own. I want to see him run the FBI.
Yeah, he's a pretty sharp guy, for sure.
And he's departed with Trump. He said he would not have commuted the sentences of the people, not all of them, not the people who just walked into the building and trespassed in a public building. Why did those people go to prison for so many years? I don't get that. But he said he would not have commuted the sentences of the people who assaulted police officers. So he broke with the Trump administration there. One of the complaints the Democrats have is that they're all in lockstep with Trump. Well, they should agree with Trump if they're going to be in his cabinet, if they're going to serve in his cabinet.
Right.
Yeah. Tulsi's running into some problems with Republicans as well as Democrats, so that may be something to keep an eye on. She may or may not make the cut. We'll keep an eye on that. As we're recording today, that vote has not taken place yet. Hey, we want to thank a couple more of our sponsors, Royal Roofing and Solar. They have the roof over my house. And boy, this would be a great time as we go into spring now to get Mike Dale, Austin Watterson, and their team up on your roof to do a roof inspection, because we've had so much stuff thrown at us. It may be time for a new roof, and who knows? I mean, if you've got hail damage up there, you may get your insurance to pay for it. And if you get a new roof and you're going to be in the house for a while, why not talk to Mike Dale about solar? It's a great combination. And you were talking about your gas bill with the new house. Wait till you get an electric bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the summertime, those electric bills can spin out of control.
They're both going to be pretty bad for us because we have a lot of draftiness. So we're getting new garage doors that'll help fix it, and then windows and doors and stuff like that. It's going to be a long-term thing. But
new roof will help.
Yeah.
Solar will help if it's your forever home. Solarbyroyal.com, royalcontractingkc.com. They did the roof on my house. They'd be glad to give you a bid on your roof. 816-540-7057. And again, solarbyroyal.com, royalcontractingkc.com. Then after you've done all that, you go celebrate and have some pizza. Jim Dingman, fine American. U.S. Marine. Was that his Marine Corps?
Yeah, that was the
I'm waiting for
commercial.
the Hall of Montezuma here in a minute. Yeah. So check out Funhouse Pizza. They have two locations, 50 Highway in Lee's Summit. People keep asking me, when are we coming back to Funhouse Pizza? We'll do something in the spring. I've been asking podcast viewers and listeners, what do you want to see us do? Who do you want us to interview?
Yeah.
And somebody said, well, we'd love to see Trump there.
Yeah, great.
We can pull that string.
I got him on speed dial. Let's go.
Get Mark Alford working on that. Yeah. We can get him to Funhouse Pizza. 7 Highway in Blue Springs as well. A little off-road here. It reminds me of a story from this week. So I get a restricted call. I think that's what it came up as, restricted call. And, of course, I never answer these things, right? I only answer if you're in my phone book. If it comes up just a number or definitely spam, I don't answer any of those calls. Yeah. But it came up restricted number. And I'm like, never know. Alfred's a buddy of mine. Maybe he got me a call from the president. So I'm expecting, when I hit the green button, I'm going to get hold for the president, please.
You're going to get
Dale, it's Donnie. Calling in a favor for the Chiefs. Could you give me a shout out?
See, there you go. It could have been that. It wasn't that. I answer the call and it's like, this is Social Security Administration.
Oh.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Social Security Administration would never call. And he goes, who told you that? Are you an asshole? And that's when I hung up.
Oh my goodness.
What are you, an asshole?
Weird.
I guess I am an asshole.
Yeah.
It depends on who you ask. If you ask the Democrats, they would definitely tell you that I'm an asshole. This is one of the things that, not the truth is what the truth is, right? We go back to the press conference with Trump. The truth is, was it cringeworthy at points? Yes, it was cringeworthy at points. But Democrats don't stop there. They make up stuff. Steele dossier. That ring any bells to you? Russian collusion. Ring any bells? Okay. So Chris Barnard. I don't know who Chris Barnard is. Do you?
No.
Yeah, okay. Well, he went on X and called out the New Yorker for their hit piece on how white an inaugural event was.
Here it is right here.
Yeah. They cropped out the black people. So what you see there on the screen, if you're watching this, the New Yorker cover was the white bordered thing. But if you expand it out, you can see that there were black people there. And here's the inconvenient truth about it. The host of the event was black.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This one is funny right here, this guy, because if you look at the border, it's like right past his face. It's like it's so close. They couldn't even leave the tip of his nose in there. They had to just go right past his face.
And the inconvenient truth is that Donald Trump, with his populist message, he got a lot more black people to vote for him than any Republican has had.
Yeah.
More Hispanics, more women, more Asians. He put together this coalition. So the Democrats walking around like a rock in our shoe, what their mission is over the next 2 years before the midterm is to peel off as many of those people as possible.
Right.
To say, okay, you lost your mind, you voted for the guy, but he hates you. He hates you. Just look at this inaugural event.
Yeah.
The Cruel Kids table. It's an all-white event.
I've been seeing a lot of memes too about this woman right here. Like people saying like she's the future queen of America, and they're kind of simping a little bit, but it is kind of funny.
Oh my God. So, the truth is what the truth is, but Democrats can't leave it there. They've got to lie their ass off as they go through this. Then the hearings continue. We talked a little bit about Kash Patel. We talked a little bit about Tulsi Gabbard. The RFK thing, that another screech fest. And what I heard, at least from a philosophical point of view, was that the Democrats on that committee, they know that RFK has a speech issue with his vocal cords, right? And so their strategy going in was to scream him down so that he would have to get loud coming back, and he can't do it. Right. So this is one of the things we're going to have with this new podcast studio. I don't know if you can hear in the background, but
Yeah.
Your child is carrying on.
There's a noise gate on the microphone, so maybe that'll cut it out. But
so the RFK hearing turned into another one of those screech fests. And here's one of the tactics the Democrats have that I just really love. It makes me laugh. Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
I mean, to be fair, everyone kind of does that. I've seen
the Republicans do it?
Yeah, I've seen like Ted Cruz and people do that too. A lot of it is performative, man.
Of course it is.
And of course, Elizabeth Warren, is going to be one of those. And there's a follow-up to this too, because we'll watch this and then I want to pull something up about her, but this is pretty good.
Okay.
Financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
No. Look, no one should be fooled here. As Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line...
Little Freudian slip there. Did you catch that?
No, I didn't. What was that?
Won't interfere with...
Hold on.
Science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids.
Did you catch that?
Those of us who want to vaccinate his kids?
Yeah. She meant to say he won't promise that he's not going to interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate our kids.
Right.
But she said who want to vaccinate his kids. It's a little Freudian slip.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. One of the things I think that RFK wants to take out of the domain is advertising by these pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
And I just have my physical and my doctor who knows that I don't want to take any more vaccines. I'm done with I took the 2 COVID vaccines and the first booster, but I'm done with all that. I've never had a flu shot. I'm a healthy guy. And I try and take care of myself. And he knows that. And he says, well, there's this new shot out there and it'll do this and it'll do that. It wouldn't protect from that. But hey, and Travis Kelce's doing the commercials for it.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing any of this stuff. And this is the same doctor, by the way, who told me that when they were admitting COVID patients, they had to say if they had COVID and they died, that was the cause of death. They might have died of something else, but they died with COVID, so COVID became the cause of death.
Right.
To pump up those numbers. So there's too much money, too much corruption in all of this stuff. And one of the things I think RFK Jr. would do is try and end that.
Yeah, and speaking of money, I mean, we're going to play a clip of Bernie too, because this is relevant, but top industries, federal election data for Elizabeth Warren 2020 cycle. She received $2.36 million from the health care industry, hospitals, miscellaneous health, pharmaceuticals / health products, $625,000 during the 2020 cycle. So, does that have something to do with it? Maybe.
I think Big Pharma's got a big lobby.
Yeah.
On Capitol Hill.
Yeah, and then this one from Bernie, he got a big applause line here. This is a pretty heated exchange that I figured we could watch.
I'm going to make America healthier than other countries in the world right now.
Will you guarantee do what every other major country does? It's a simple question.
And by the way, Bernie, the problem of corruption is not just in the federal agencies, it's in Congress too. Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry.
Protecting
their interests.
Oh, I thought that would come. No. I ran for president.
He
like
does
you.
the hair.
I got millions and millions of contributions.
No.
They did not come from the executives, not one nickel of PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. They came from workers.
In 2020, you were the single largest
because I had
receiver of pharmaceutical money.
Contributions from workers all over this country. Not a nickel from corporate.
He's got like hand Tourette's or something. You know what I mean? Like he can't control his hands. They just flop around. But so there's some interesting there too, just real quick. So RFK mentioned 2020 specifically. Mm-hmm. So this is not 2020. There's a little bit of nuance here. So in 2016, among all senators, Bernie Sanders was the second highest in pharmaceutical donations with 439,256.
Well, and here's the thing. He talks about the workers gave him the money. How do we know who those workers were? They bundled that money.
Yeah.
From the pharmaceutical companies. Otherwise, we don't know. If you wrote a check to Bernie Sanders, how would we know?
Right.
Who you are and where you work.
Right, exactly.
Why do we know they're pharmaceutical?
And then he kind of made an about face on that in 2019. He put this out, the pledge. I pledge to not take contributions from the healthcare, insurance, or pharmaceutical industry. So I don't know, how much he stuck to that or not, if RFK, because again, RFK was talking about 2020, but certainly in 2016, he was the second highest among all senators in terms of pharmaceutical contributions. So, well, they're all hypocrites.
They are hypocrites. And one of these days, we are going to have a podcast episode about the healthcare industry and all the issues going on there. So stay tuned for that. That is coming down the road. Democrats losing their minds. Some Democrats are just the way they've always been. In Minneapolis, right, in the great state of Minnesota, where the governor is Tim Walz, the mayor of Minneapolis says, illegals are welcome. We don't call you illegal. We call you neighbors. So, if you're illegal and you're a criminal and all that, he's one of those. There are Democrats out there who get it, who understand, who are like, okay, we said all this during the election, but in point of fact, when there are criminals in our cities, we want to get them out. Public safety is number one. The governor of Massachusetts has come around. The governor of Colorado has come around. Gavin Newsom has come around. But the mayor of Minneapolis says, we call you neighbors.
I want to speak directly to people who are undocumented. We love you. We care about you. In the city of Minneapolis, we will stand up for you, and we will do anything in our power to help. Because you're not an alien in our city, you're a neighbor. Now, in Minneapolis, we have what is called a separation ordinance. And that separation ordinance states clearly that our city officials, our police officers and beyond, will not be gathering information showing who is and who is not documented. We do not ask the question with regard to immigration status, and because we haven't asked the question, we don't have any data to show documentation status in our city. Our police officers will not be cooperating with federal law enforcement around federal immigration law. We enforce state and local laws here in Minneapolis, and we will do so to the best of our ability. But as for cooperation with ICE, the answer is no.
Wow. Okay.
You know what I'm going to say about that,
go ahead.
right? The freaking sign language. Can we stop with that, please? Can we stop?
What was that, doing the sign language?
Well, look at this. Hold on. Look at this freeze frame right here.
Oh my God.
That was totally accidental.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's the thumbnail right there.
That's
Hold on.
almost like, one of these people farted. I don't know which one did, but it was rank.
Yeah. I mean, the sign language thing, man. It's like, we have closed captions. You don't need a sign language person. It's totally...
Was that a man or a woman?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Who cares? But I mean, obviously the message itself is ridiculous, but that just is annoying and distracting.
Well, the guy who took over the border, I guess from the border czar, Kamala Harris, and or, Mayorkas, is Tom Homan. And Tom Homan is a straight shooter. And poor Martha Raddatz. Martha Raddatz from ABC. She always looks like she's been peeling an onion, doesn't she? I mean, she always looks like she's gonna cry.
Yeah.
And Tom Homan, I mean, she tried to make Tom Homan look really bad, and Tom Homan said, "Oh, you don't know the half of it. We're going to do this too." And I think he just completely blew her mind in this clip.
I want to go back to those military flights going south. As you said, we have never seen that before. Is that going to be a constant commitment from the U.S. military every single day to take deportees out?
Yes.
So is this what we will see every single day, ending in what the president has promised is millions and millions being deported?
Yes, but you're going to see the number steadily increase, the number of arrests nationwide as we open up the aperture. Right now it's concentrating public safety threats, national security threats. That's a smaller population. So we're going to do this on priority base, as President Trump's promised, but as that aperture opens, there'll be more arrests nationwide.
When you talk about the aperture opening, the estimates of perhaps those who have been convicted or arrested in the past, 700,000 to over 1 million. So after you do that, then you go after everybody who is there illegally.
If you're in the country illegally, you're on the table, because it's not okay to violate laws of this country. You got to remember, every time you enter this country illegally, you violated a crime under Title 8, United States Code 1325. It's a crime. So if you're in the country illegally, you got a problem. And that's why I'm hoping those who are in the country illegally who have not been ordered removed by the federal judge should leave.
I mean, that's pretty simple stuff, right?
Yeah.
They violated the law.
It's so amazing too, just the attitude, the change in attitude. Like it's the defense of like, well, this is mean, or something, this is racist. And like, everyone's been so on the defensive for so long, and he just is like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's exactly what we're doing.
It's like that. It's so refreshing. One word, just yes.
Yeah.
She's like, so you're going to be flying all these illegals out of the country? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So
just leave it at that.
Like I said last time, I mean, if you're in the country illegally, keep your head down and stay away from criminals.
Yeah.
And, for God's sake, try and find a way to get legal. But failing that, it is a crime to be in this country. And I know they've tried to soften the language on the left and call it undocumented. They just don't have documents. Where what he just quoted in the law, the law states illegal aliens. That's what they are. So if you don't like that, rip it up, change the law.
Yeah.
If you Democrats really don't like it, put another law out there, get a Democrat president to sign it. I don't think you can. But, the future is unclear, as they say. The future's very clear for our old friend Gold Bar Bob Menendez. he's going to get 11 years in prison, right? And unlike the cases against Trump that in New York, nobody could explain, and the judge told the jury, make it up as you go along. There's not a defined crime here, but if you think the guy's guilty on anything, he's guilty. I mean, those are the most obtuse jury instructions I've ever heard in the history of jurisprudence. Well, with Bob Menendez, it was pretty simple. Twice he got caught taking bribes from the Egyptians to influence foreign policy. And the Democrats saved him once, but they weren't going to save him twice. This is the guy who, you may recall, sewed gold bars into his suit, which is how he got the nickname Gold Bar Bob.
That's kind of baller. I'm not going to lie.
You like that?
Sewing the gold into your suit. Yeah.
Yeah. And he got, fancy cars and all that stuff. I mean, if you've committed a crime like that, you need to go to prison. You definitely don't need to be in the United States Senate, where he was for a very long time from New Jersey. And now he's going to be in prison for 11 years.
You're not a nice person.
I mean, you can make that case.
I'd say congratulations.
Now do Joe Biden, right? Let's get to that guy.
You got a Joe Biden?
No, I'm just saying, we're talking about taking foreign money to influence, foreign policy.
I think there's a lot of evidence out there, a lot of smoking guns, know, and then, Trump's pulling the security clearance for all these people who signed the document saying that the laptop had all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation.
Right.
Yeah. So they don't get their security clearance anymore, and they're crying about that. Finally, with the Democrats losing their mind, all under that one umbrella, Tim Walz, who wanted to be your vice president, he says the Democrats were just exhausted.
America's listening to you right now, thinking about what might have been had you been vice president instead of J.D. Vance, what might have been had Kamala Harris been the president right now instead of Donald Trump. People hearing you talking about the pushback and the fight and that mattering. What does that mean in practical terms? The average person watching you right now who agrees that this needs a big pushback, what should they do?
Yeah, and that overused term, the frog in the boiling water, we've been in the damn pot way too long. I think it is speaking up. It's thinking about your neighbors. It's writing and putting those members of Congress. Look, there is no spine amongst those folks, but this is real. This is, they're talking about defunding the police, things that they, puff their chests up and say they're good with, making the case. And I would let, to the voters, I'm with this too. Everybody's fatigued. Trust me, I get it. It was pure hell, and the disappointment and the frustration. And I'm, soul searching. What could we have done to make the case? Because we knew this was coming. We knew that the implications, and they're throwing so much at us that we're fatigued, So I would tell people.
So, make the case for the Democrats. Let's say that we were having a debate, right, in debate class in school, right, where you had to take both sides of the issue. If you were the Democrats, how would you have sold them? How would you have sold the voters?
Well, I mean, we talked about before abortion being their best issue.
It's all they had.
Politically speaking, of course, I disagree with it, but I think that, really pulling the heartstrings on that, you can't touch foreign policy. You can't touch the economy. I think they made the mistake of trying to do that. They made the mistake of saying, well, everything's fine. The prices aren't up. Everyone's doing great.
Border's secure.
Look at all these accomplishments. Yeah. Lying about the border was a huge, huge mistake. And if you're going to talk about immigration from a Democrat perspective, you have to do like what they're doing now, because I forgot my hard drive, had to go to work today. I drove past the plaza, and they're having a big protest at the plaza today for all the illegal immigrants. I was thinking it'd be funny if 12 ICE cars just showed up.
So you're saying there were illegal immigrants on the plaza?
Who knows? But they were having a protest. But, pulling the heartstrings of what AOC did, going to the fake border fence and crying, and they're breaking up families, and, they're going to send Abuela, in a Black Hawk helicopter back down to Mexico or something like that. They have to play on people's emotions. So that's the only way that they can win. So they have to find those issues, abortion, separating families, quote unquote, stuff like that, is what they really need to play on. And they kind of did that, but then they tried to lie about the economy and lie about immigration. And then, Trump got shot. That didn't help them. So,
And the second attempt too.
Yeah.
Well, I think the abortion's done. because Trump, with his Supreme Court and the people that he put on the court, basically overturned Roe versus Wade, sent it back to the states. And in a lot of cases, the states have gone further than what Roe was. Missouri is one of those, which blew my mind.
Yeah.
So it's hard for them to sell that you can't get an abortion in this country. All Trump did was take it out of the federal domain.
Right. I mean, they're not going to be satisfied, though, until there's abortion on demand at the federal level.
Well, then they need to pass a law. Good luck.
Yeah. But I'm just saying politically, like, it's not going to not be an issue for them to run on. It will always be an issue. It's like racism, right? Like, they need it. They need it for their platform, or else they're toast.
I know. You know, the whole thing with the DEI claims that Donald Trump made. What did MSNBC do? They put Al Sharpton on. I mean, that's Al Sharpton's crack.
Yeah. Well, Al Sharpton went to Costco, too. Did you see that?
Oh, no.
Yeah. He did a whole thing at Costco, like gave a speech there and stuff. It's pretty funny.
Well, he's probably supporting Costco because Costco is going to keep their DEI. And again, you know, the whole thing comes full circle, Kurt, because, you know, if you're going to stock shelves, I don't care what your company does in a DEI way. But if it's my life on the line, whether it's a doctor or an airline pilot or an air traffic controller, I want merit-based to be the way to go.
Yeah. They're keeping their DEI and they're keeping their $1.50 hot dogs.
Awesome. I like Costco. We stock up on stuff there all the time.
I'm a member. I like it.
All right. I'm also a member of State Farm, have been my entire life. Grew up with State Farm in our household, and I took it with me to Connecticut, which is interesting because when I lived in Connecticut for 2.5 years, it's the only state in America where they don't have State Farm agents. But because I had been a lifelong State Farm client, they handled me out of the corporate office in Connecticut. And then when I moved to Blue Springs 30 years ago next month, I said, okay, guys, who's my State Farm guy? And they said, it's that guy. It's Bob Watson. Bob Watson just celebrated his 50th anniversary as a State Farm agent, and he'll take care of your family with the best brand in insurance. There's no better brand than State Farm because they stand behind you when you need them. And he's got a full staff there in Blue Springs, 7th and Main in Blue Springs, 816-229-7878. But just because that's where his office is doesn't mean you can't use Bob Watson. He's licensed in Missouri and Kansas, the entire state. He'll bundle your home and car insurance so you'll save even more money. Auto, home, life, he does it all. If it's worth insuring, you need Bob Watson on your team. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Interesting that a lot of Hollywood stars are now jumping on the Trump bandwagon. I'm seeing names like Roseanne, Kelsey Grammer, Tim Allen, John Voight, who was at Trump's big celebration. He spoke at the celebration. And all of them claim, and I think there's a lot of merit to this, that Hollywood has become irrelevant. Do you remember the last movie you went to?
The last one I saw in theaters was probably Dune 2, I think.
Yeah.
Or no, I didn't see that in theaters. I think I watched that at home. I think I saw the first one in theaters. I don't remember.
Yeah. But you see what's happening. We see the box office numbers every week.
Yeah.
I mean, they're falling.
Yeah. Well, that's a combination of things too. I mean, it's
sure.
I'm sure the woke stuff has something to do with it, but also people have streaming now.
A lot more options.
And like tickets are more expensive. It's like $15 for a
and that's
movie
just
ticket.
the ticket.
And then popcorn's $20 and a soda's $10, and then
terrible.
Next thing you know, it's $80, for two people or whatever. So that's part of it. I don't know if there's just the excitement, I think probably COVID impacted the industry, and I don't know if it made a recovery, but I don't know if it's like fully recovered.
No, it's definitely not fully recovered from COVID. But, when I look at the movies and it's like, let's go to a movie this weekend. You look at the movies that are out there and go, I have no interest in any of that.
Yeah.
Zero interest in all of it.
Yes.
I did go, I saw Gladiator 2, which I thought was okay.
Yeah.
Denzel Washington, I don't know that I buy. Somebody who looks like Denzel Washington taking over the Roman Empire. You think we're racist? They were really racist back in the Roman times. So you have to suspend disbelief in all that. And I also saw the one about the Pope dying. What was that movie again?
Conclave.
Yeah.
That's on the list.
That's on the list. So Hollywood is still greenlighting these movies that are losing millions and millions of dollars. You would think at some point, I mean, they're not the federal government, for God's sake. They can't go out and dig a hole as big as the government did. At some point, that money's all going to dry up. But I thought with the Oscars coming up, we should take a look at the list for Best Picture and see if A, we've seen any of them, and B, if you even know what the hell they're about.
Yeah, so here's the
So
list
what do
right
you
here.
got?
So we have Anora.
No idea.
No clue.
What about you?
No
Okay.
idea. The Brutalist.
Nope.
Yeah, that's a no from me. A Complete Unknown.
Never heard of it.
Conclave. That's the one you were
I
just
did
talking
see
about.
that.
I didn't see it, but I've heard of it.
Pretty good. The book was really good too.
Dune Part 2.
You saw that? I didn't.
Fantastic movie. Fantastic movie. That actually deserves to be on the list. Emilia Perez.
Nope.
Nope. I'm Still Here.
No idea.
No clue. Nickel Boys.
They couldn't have dimes? I mean, I don't know.
yeah. Not even Dime Boys,
Yeah.
Quarter Boys. Yeah, never heard of that. The Substance.
Nope.
And Wicked.
Now, Wicked, I have heard. I wanted to see that, but I never got around to it before they took it out of the theaters.
Yeah. My wife wanted to see it really bad, so she went and saw it with a female friend.
Did you say it was good?
They liked it, but
You think it was a chick flick?
I mean, dude, I would have been ruthless in that movie theater. they did not want me there, trust me.
I don't know. I thought it looked good. And my wife is kind of like you. She would never go see a chick flick anyway. She's in our relationship. I think I'm the girl, right? Because I drink the girly drinks, Malibu with pineapple. Make fun of me all you want. I've got G.I. Joe action figures, which people like you and my wife and Zarda call my doll collection. They are not dolls. They're action figures. Okay. So I kind of had an interest in going to see Wicked, which my wife did not. So I ended up not going to see it. Now, growing up a Catholic, I had to go see Conclave. I thought that was really well done. And again, the book was really good. So
I'm clipping that, by the way.
Out of all of this list, pick the movie that is the most DEI friendly, right?
It's got to be, well, I don't know most of these, but from the ones I know, it's got to be Wicked.
You think Wicked wins Best Picture?
It's got a chance because it's the most popular. From the ones I know, it should be Dune Part 2. Fantastic shot. I mean, the way that the movie was filmed, the story, it's true to the book. The acting is not like amazing, but it's good enough. I mean, Dune Part 2 was one of the best I've seen in a while.
I'm just amazed that out of that list, I mean, I'm a guy who is into pop culture. It's part of my job doing a morning show on a radio station. And you read through the list there, and I would say 10 of them on the list I've never even heard of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're up for Best Picture. And I wonder what their revenue numbers were. I'm going to guess they weren't very high.
Let me just read real quick. Let me just read the summaries for each of these. So here's Anora. A young escort from Brooklyn meets and impulsively marries the son of a Russian oligarch. Once the news reaches Russia, her fairy tale is threatened as his parents set out for New York to get the marriage annulled. Here's the poster. Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
And then the next one is A Complete Unknown.
Which is completely unknown to me.
Yeah. Oh, this is with this is the Bob Dylan movie.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I did hear some good things about that.
Yeah. Conclave, we don't need to do that.
Right.
Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez.
Yeah. Nothing about that.
Zoe Saldana, she's the chick from what's it called? The superhero movie. Emilia Perez follows 4 remarkable women in Mexico, each pursuing their own happiness. Cartel leader Emilia enlists unappreciated lawyer Rita to help fake her death so that she can finally live authentically as her true. Okay, that one might be the most woke. That sounds.
Zoe Saldana is hot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's in the running for the most woke sounding one.
She was great in Taylor Sheridan's The Lioness. Great TV series.
I'm Still Here. We'll just go through these real quick. A mother is forced to reinvent herself when her family's life is shattered by an act of arbitrary violence during the tightening grip of a military dictatorship in Brazil, 1971.
That's a candidate.
That's like some art flick type thing. Nickel Boys.
Yeah.
Based on title, this is my favorite so far.
I'm going to do
Boys.
my movie that's going to come out. It's going to be called Dime Bag.
Dime Bag Boys. Okay, based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel by Colson Whitehead, Nickel Boys chronicles the powerful friendship between two young African-American men navigating the harrowing trials of reform school together in Florida.
Winner, winner.
Yeah, that's pretty woke. The Substance. This is the last one that we haven't heard of. Demi Moore. Okay.
She was great in Landman, another Taylor Sheridan TV show.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. A fading celebrity takes a black market drug, a cell-replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself.
Huh.
This sounds like a thriller, like horror type thing. That actually sounds interesting.
That does sound interesting.
I would watch that.
Okay. Well,
that's it.
And that's it. One of them is going to win the Oscar. You can pick which one you think it is. And this is episode 200 of Dale Carter's America. Yay!
Yeah, we made it.
From the new studios in Raytown. Until next week, this is Dale Carter's America. Go Chiefs.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.